When talking about choosing a negotiation method, we obviously have five different methods that we can use in order to deal with the counterpart and in order to prepare and conduct our own strategy. And one of them is the combative orientated negotiator. Now, I would have to say, though, that I would never recommend combative behavior with a few exceptions, but it have to be planned combative. It shouldn't be emotional based combative. It should actually be coming from a planned situation where we know that we're getting into combat and we know how to use the tools in order to cope and handle combat. The reason we need to understand the negotiation methods described on the slide up here is first and foremost because we need to be able to deal with different kind of counterparts. And obviously, nobody is just combative or collaboration orientated or compromising. People use a variation of different approaches, but you need to be able to identify what approach and then know how to deal with that approach. Secondly, we need to understand our own approach. So you need to know whether you are collaboration orientated, whether you are concession orientated or combative orientated or one of the other ones. So the point of talking about negotiation method is one, dealing with the counterpart, and secondly, understanding your own situation. When we identify a combative orientated negotiator, the purpose of that negotiation style, without any doubt, is to win. And there's nothing wrong with that. I encourage my clients and my students to win in their negotiations as well. But the difference between smartmanship and combative behavior is that in combative behavior, you want to win at the expense of the counterpart. So you may have heard the phrase that you shouldn't kick to a person who's lying down. That doesn't go for combat. Combative orientated negotiators very often only feel happy when they are certain that the counterpart lost. So that means they're not only happy if they win, they're only actually happy if the counterpart lost at the same time. So obviously this is a procedure where you don't treat the counterpart with equal values. So you don't try to create good relations and you don't do anything to maintain openness and trust. So to give you a very brief example of combative behavior, I might be stepping into a negotiation with you and I might be saying, I want delivery 2 weeks earlier than what you proposed. Now, you being very constructive in your negotiation behavior, you might be asking me a question that, by the way, that you should. And the question would be, what's the value to you if we actually deliver earlier? Now, remember, I'm combative, so my response might be something like this. I don't see that as any importance to you. If you don't deliver 2 weeks earlier, we're going to buy from somebody else. That will be a combative orientated behavior.